Got the saddest feeling nowadays that all my dreams are much too far away. Sometimes the nights got me aching, working hours in the cold. And I can't imagine how it feels to end up where you feel you had to go. I've been lost, starving, praying nothing else will go wrong. I guess we're all dying, waiting for the world to lose control. Could you tell me what it's really like to feel like you've got the world by your side? 'Cause trust me, babe, I've done my good. Give all I had and a little more than I should. Got the sense that I ain't made for much, 'cause what I feel is never understood.
Profiling too. Black guys get profiled by the police. Rednecks get profiled by space aliens. I get it. I get it. Yeah. A damn smart-ass alien walks up like, do you know why I abducted you this evening? I don't know, maybe because I'm driving a beat-up Chevy with an Earnhardt sticker. This is fucking bullshit, man. Third time this month. God damn. It's always rednecks getting abducted by aliens, man. All the time. But I think there's an upside to that. I think there's a silver lining there. Try to be positive about it. Because what that says to me is that rednecks must have among the sweetest, most exquisite anuses you can find. Anywhere. Anywhere. You know what I mean? Think about it. These little gray bastards could be probing any backside on God's green earth. Nay, the cosmos. But they keep coming back for that hillbilly brown eye. What's that tell you? What's that tell you?
Welcome to WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. How are you doing on this lovely end of the week? My word. Anti-corporatist, hello. Finally got control of my email, and then I couldn't remember what I wanted to email you. Oh no. I Rabin Sapedra. You got to tell me how to pronounce that at some point. The anti-corporatist talking about the iPhone. Oh no, I've been there, man. Getting locked out all the time. No good. Good to see all you though. I'll tell you. Just hit after hit coming for Trump, huh? And the whole fasci gang. Delighted by this person's downfall. Want to jump straight into it because oh boy, I'm deeply enjoying this. Let's have at it. Wait a minute, I got to get the link up there. This is Friday Peace Talks. So if you guys don't know, if you haven't been a part of Friday Peace Talks before, oh mercy. If you haven't been in Friday Peace Talks before, what we do is share a sheet that theoretically lines up. Here we go. And you can drop in a clip that you want to watch together. And we talk about it. We criticize it. We say what we like, what we don't like about it. And if there are better points to be made. And the idea here is that we make sure we are all getting the same information, or at least we all have the opportunity to see the same information. hopefully, we're going to attract some MAGA folks to come on by. But I've just shared that link in the description, not in the description, in the chat. And feel free to drop off the piece you'd like us to look at in that sheet. I'll be checking it periodically throughout the show. Now let's get started proper. Want to kick off this Friday Peace Talks with an article by Newsweek, because that article is talking about something we all knew for a while. But there is yet more evidence of, and it's not crimes against we the people, it's just crimes against humanity. Or at least our ability to keep our lunch down, good Lord. Yeah, Donald Trump being gross around his daughter, and apparently doesn't mind if he does that around others in a professional setting, including in the freaking White House. Here it is. Article by Newsweek exclusive. Trump made shocking comments about Ivanka, says ex-staffer. Ivanka Trump is Donald Trump's daughter. Donald Trump's naked sexism, including towards his own daughter, is described in a new book by Miles Taylor, the former Trump administration official who famously wrote a scathing op-ed about the former president under the pen name Anonymous. Taylor, a former chief of staff at the Department of Homeland Security, describes several incidents that made women in the Trump administration uncomfortable in his upcoming book, Blowback, A Warning to Save Democracy from the Next Trump, an extract of which was obtained exclusively by Newsweek. Thank you, unhelpfully placed ad. Criminy jeez. That really is going to be stuck in there, huh? How about if I submit? Here we go. Oh, no. All right. These son of a gun. These incidents, here we are. The book says claims by aides. Okay. I'm jumping over to the other article. These incidents included, the book says, claims by aides that Trump made lewd comments about his daughter Ivanka's appearance and talked about what it might be like to have sex with her. This prompted a rebuke from his chief of staff, the book says. So imagine for a moment that the President of the United States is so foul that his chief of staff has to tell him to stop talking gross about his own daughter. If you voted for this guy, I'm going to assume you think this is all a lie. In which case, I would expect that Donald Trump is going to sue him. He's probably going to sue him regardless, but when he does, when that inevitable libel lawsuit drops, or is it slander? I think it's, I don't know. Whenever the whatever lawsuit drops, have a look at what the outcome actually is in court. I notice you guys tend to, and I'm not trying to pick on you. I'm genuinely trying to help you here. I notice you guys tend to only listen to what Trump's defense is, what he says it is, no matter how contradictory, nonsensical, etc., etc. And then when the court ruling comes, that's utterly ignored. That happened with the elections objections he dropped in. I noticed that happened when E. Jean Carroll said she was raped by Trump. Although, to be fair, in New York, the sexual violation Donald Trump was found to have committed against her is technically only considered a sexual assault, I think. So not technically a rape. However, by the standards of rape in New York, it's impossible for one man to rape another man, and we both know that's not a good law. My point being, look for what Donald Trump, if Donald Trump brings this into a civil suit of some sort, and look at what the results end up being. It comes after several former staffers, let's see if I can jump back into the article we're both looking at. It comes after several former staffers last month spoke about Trump's pattern of behaving inappropriately with women while president. A New York jury found him liable for sexually abusing and defaming, okay, so it was sexual abuse, and defaming former journalist E. Jean Carroll. Trump has denied any wrongdoing and is appealing the Carroll judgment, but his alleged behavior towards women may impact his chances of securing another term in the White House in 2024. No, Trump voters, we both know that Trump's cruelty towards women, Trump's disrespect towards women, seems to excite you, if I'm being honest. And this is Friday Peace Talks, so I'm not trying to make you feel bad here. I'm genuinely offering an assessment. I'm offering, I suppose, an honest observation, and I'm inviting you to deny it and correct me, because I want to be corrected. I don't want to believe this about you, but you should know where I'm coming from. I think you like it. I think you hear when he acts gross towards women, and it makes you happy. It makes you like him more. I think you have a nihilistic streak in you. I think anything he does, which is abhorrent, makes you want to support him more. I think, in other words, you want a destructive, gross, repulsive force in the White House. And I think the worse it is, the happier you are with it. I don't understand fully why. I've tried to be empathetic here. But I mean, when COVID came out, I just knew this guy was going to find a way to be on the side of the disease. Lo and behold, he was. He argued against wearing masks, and you guys were so happy with that. You were delighted by that. A couple of million Americans are dead, by the way. So we got to get to the bottom of this. And I'm not inviting you here to then turn around and start slapping you. I want to understand what's going on with your support of this guy. And here we have the most unobjectionable objection to this guy. More reports that he was gross about his own daughter. And why include this? Why include these new reports? Well, because you didn't pay attention to the old reports, Trump supporters. You didn't pay attention when he was on the Howard Stern show talking sexually about his own daughter and inviting others to talk sexually about his daughter. When he was on The View, sitting right next to her, he talked rather sexually about his own daughter. You guys didn't have a problem with that. Explain to me why. First of all, this piece, what's your objection if you're there in the audience? And if you don't have an objection, then I assume you're going to tell me you're not going to support this sick freak anymore. That's what I assume you're going to tell me. Let's jump to the comments. Find out. I have a feeling we don't have any Trump supporters. Ooh. Irobbing, no need for last name. Okay, Irobbing says, with the very kind $5 super chat, I appreciate it. And thank you for telling me how it's done. Dino with the $5 super chat, much appreciated. Christy Zolkowski, Trump is trash. I'm done trying to figure him out or being disgusted by him. I just accept that he's evil and want to start fighting back. I wholeheartedly agree. I think we can, quite possibly, convince a couple, not many, but a couple of Trump supporters to see the light on this. At the very least, to acknowledge that we are dealing with a deeply disturbed individual. Even if you're the sort of person who, for some reason, is lusting after your own daughter. I don't have a daughter. I can't imagine what it's like. It seems to me like you probably shouldn't be. You should probably go to a therapist over that if you're lusting after your own daughter. But, like, whatever's messed up inside that makes you do that. The fact that he can't just keep it to himself, lock it away, utterly pretend like he's never had such a thought. Tells me he probably shouldn't be the one in charge of keeping nuclear secrets. Sort of like he might use them as placemats or whatever. Just a thought. Let's jump over to that Friday Peace Talk sheet. All right. In the Friday Peace Talks sheet, just so you all know, it's that linked comment up top. If you click on that, you can drop a link to a video, and we will watch it. And the disturbed who vote for that, says Rex Trek. Yeah. Stuart Brooks, well, at least we won the gerrymandering this week. That is true. That is an excellent point. Do we want to go that way? Let me have a look here. Yeah, to that end. You know what? I'm going to save that. I want to stick with Hammer and Trump, because on the off chance that we got someone who's a bit MAGA, who's lurking around, and hasn't felt comfortable speaking yet, because I haven't made it a very welcoming place, I'm going to try to be a lot kinder this time. Put less of the spotlight on the voter, more of the spotlight on the con artist who keeps conning people into voting for him. We got more charges coming down the pipe. Yet more charges seem to be coming at Donald Trump. It looks like we might get 45 for 45. That's starting to look quite plausible. Ooh, mercy. There we are. There we are. Not quite. Oh, well, work on that in a second. We might get more charges for Donald Trump. Here is, it's going to bug me this whole time. Okay. Here is Raw News and Politics with the relatively new news. This is about a day old, but she does a great breakdown of the additional charges that might come as a result of Trump's blatant breaking of the law. Have a look, and if you disagree, tell me what it is you disagree about, because I want to know. If I'm wrong, I'd like to know.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So I was planning to provide you all with an update about Attorney John Eastman, but this news was far more important. This is really exciting stuff. Breaking news today. The news outlet called The Independent is the first to report that the Justice Department is about to indict Trump and some of his allies with dozens of new charges. Somewhere between 30 to 45 additional counts. This is the same news site that I cited, that this is the one that called it first in regard to his last criminal indictment. So I tend to believe them because they had it right last time when nobody else was reporting it. They must have a source somewhere that knows what they're talking about. According to this article, sources say that the DOJ is preparing to file a superseding indictment that includes much more serious charges in the Southern District of Florida. Alternatively, though, they say that the prosecutor might bring these additional charges in a different venue.
I'm going to let her do her thing in a moment because she is a skilled communicator about this stuff. You know my preference. It would be to go harder on these folks at any given opportunity. Go harder. Don't give Eileen Cannon a chance to prove herself. She had a chance to prove herself earlier when she interfered in the documents case. She failed. We're still in that same documents case, and now we want to see if she's going to be fair. Why? Why wait? And you know what? Maybe there's a reason, and maybe this is like international politics, where a lot is withheld from us because it's a game, and you're trying to win the game. And the person that we want to win in this case is Jack Smith, so we want him to play effectively, which means they don't always tell us everything that's going on. Okay. If that is for some reason necessary, our system is broken. I mean, we already knew it was broken. But it's further evidence of that. I think you should be able to be honest at the outset, say, wait a minute, Eileen Cannon rather brazenly tried to assist Trump, who gave her this position, which frankly she is wildly underqualified for. Of course, she cannot be involved in the case at all going forward. Personal thoughts. That said, boy, am I splitting hairs. Because the judgment he has showed, Jack Smith I'm talking about now, the judgment he has showed to be releasing the charges like this in a way that is essentially demonstrating to us that he has backup plan after backup plan because he has the charges to work with for such plans. That tells me that I can probably trust him with things like what to do about Eileen Cannon, if anything. Probably. It makes me feel a little bit better. That's for the lefties, who, if they are like me, are very distrustful that the Department of Justice will will honestly try to pursue the harshest possible punishment for these crimes, which were done blatantly, which were both audacious, if I can borrow a $10 word, and disrespectful. Disrespectful to us. For those of you that are right-wingers, my question, well, not really right-wingers, but come on, fans of Trump, let's say. For those of you who are fans of Trump, my question would be, man, are you still denying the facts of the case? Do you not? What could be left for you to question? What is it you think? When he says the Presidential Records Act gives him the right to X, Y, or Z, doesn't it make you curious then that this was not immediately thrown out of court? In other words, if things were the way Trump says they are, why is it that reality then doesn't react that way? If there is no such thing as gravity, and you toss a baseball in the air, and it comes crashing back down, doesn't that tell you that maybe there is such a thing as gravity? When Trump says the the Presidential Records Act gives him the ability to mentally declassify literally anything he wants, doesn't matter if it's nuclear secrets, doesn't matter if it's plans to attack another country. When he says that, and he says that he has the ability to mentally declassify things, clearly you've believed him. And my question would be, how come this was not thrown out day one? Because wouldn't his attorneys just say, motion to dismiss right now in the arraignment, dismiss the whole thing. Here's the Presidential Records Act. Read it. God, I don't know why it's hard for me to say. That's my question. And I suspect you're not going to have an answer because, of course, that's what they would do. The easier thing to believe here, folks, is the truth, which is that Trump is lying to you. All right, break it down for us, Raw News and Politics, Gail.
So that decision is going to be made as they gauge how their case is going to do, how their prospects are in the current environment in the Florida case. The sources say basically they're waiting to see how Judge Aileen Cannon handles this case. If she continues to give them unfavorable treatment and, keeps ruling against them, then they'll charge them in a different venue. If it seems like she's going to be fair, though, they're going to hit them with all these charges in Florida as well. So the new charges will be filed, according to the source. It is just a matter of when and where. The article also states that the new charges stem from evidence that hasn't been released to the public yet, and it includes more recordings obtained by the special counsel in which Donald Trump is allegedly heard making incriminating statements.
And the mic, I apologize. Again, I'm talking to hypothetical Trump supporters here. I'm hoping to hear from you. Because I really want to know what you think of all this. Man, don't you just think that the stuff we know about when a case just comes to light, that's the tip of the iceberg. As we're seeing here, don't you just think, given that fact, that you might learn things in the course of this trial that are going to virtually guarantee that Donald Trump has lied to you? We already talked about the Presidential Records Act. If what he said was true, why wasn't this thrown out day one? You already have an answer to Trump's claim of the Presidential Records Act supposedly giving him the ability to mentally declassify literally any document in the government. That is, of course, a nonsensical claim. If you didn't know, if you're just stopping by your old pal Jake's little stream for the first time, you're giving it a shot. You're trying to listen to what the other side says. First of all, I respect the chutzpah. Good job. Genuinely. Second, the Presidential Records Act is this. It allows, essentially, I'm going to boil it down relatively simply for my own benefit here, but it essentially allows the president to declassify any records the president themselves generated. Personal notes, diary entries, things of that nature. Those the president can say are not classified. And it is meant for, a president keeping memoirs. A president taking their book of quotes home. Things like that. It is, of course, not meant for state secrets, because that would be insane. That would be a terrible way to run the country. And that is not the way we run our country. What has she just touched on here? The things we know about so far, it's just the tip of the iceberg. She says there are more recordings. And we've already heard a recording of Trump essentially admitting to the crime. I say essentially because now he claims that the document that he was waving around, was just what does he say, a stack of newspapers? Okay. Well, I suppose we'll litigate that in the courtroom. But now we hear there are more recordings of this guy that will be used as evidence. And I tell you again, his main defense has been the Presidential Records Act giving him the ability to do as he pleases with state secrets. Yet, day one in court has come and gone. And his lawyers did not make a motion to dismiss and did not say, these things are declassified now. So, what gives? That's my question to you, MAGA. And if we have no one from MAGA listening, hey, lefties, it's a good question to ask your MAGA friends, if you got them.
On top of all of this incredible news, The Independent is also reporting that the DOJ is ready to bring charges against numerous Trump attorneys who assisted in his alleged attempted coup. I mean, we all witnessed it, but still alleged until he's convicted. Of note is Rudy Giuliani, which explains why he was just recently meeting with the special counsel for a proffer session, right? Because as I've shared with you guys before, as we know before Trump's indictments, typically they reach out to the attorney and they say, hey, here's what's going on. We're about to charge your guy or your girl. And so what do you want to do? Do you want to come in and talk with us? Is there anything that you can add to this conversation before we move forward? So a source told The Independent that even though Giuliani is going to be cooperating against Trump and they are going to be making him some sort of deal, he will, quote, most definitely still be charged with some crimes for his part in this attempt to overturn the election. So he's not getting off scot-free. He may be giving them evidence against Trump and others, but he is not going to walk away unscathed.
Also, something I very badly wanted to hear, because with the amount of culpability Giuliani has appeared to have in these matters, I couldn't, it wouldn't sit well with me if he was given a pass simply to turn on the guy at the tippy top. I am of the belief that we really don't need to be cutting all these breaks to establish guilt. If the things that I saw happen on camera did in fact happen on camera and were not some elaborate deep fake 5 years ahead of the technology being viable, you really don't need all that. Let's jump straight to what the Wicked community has to say about this. By the way, full video is in, there we go. Full video is in the description if you want to check it out. Dino, DT needs to get hit with back-to-back charges. Oh, yes, indeed. Hello, Janie. Good to see you, Janie Buck. Whoopsie daisy. Robin, Foxy is not here, so I will type it for her. Hit that thumbs up button if you are appreciative of the content. Yes, indeed. Yeah, in the spirit of Foxy, says Christy Zilkowski. Like officially added. Yeah, we're missing Foxy today. Oh well. I'll tell you, she is deeply appreciated, and I appreciate you guys recognizing her role here, man. That's super sweet of you. Oh, let me jump over. And even though she may not be listening, for the record, Zoe is a good girl. All right, got another one for you here. Assuming she loads up. So I did not, and this is the benefit of Friday Peace Talks. We're not going to do a plea to MAGA so much here. I want to talk with Democrats, both reluctant Democrats and the sort of folks who are happily with the party establishment. Both of yous. everybody in between as well, because Brian Tyler Cohen recently did a piece about establishment Dems making a change, and I'm really curious to know, in New York, and I'm curious to know what you have to say. Should probably do the intro, though. Brian Tyler Cohen recently did a real interesting piece about New York Democrats. I think this is what he was talking about. New York Democrats making a switch, a change in tactics. And it's, in my opinion, long overdue. Frankly, I would like to see the entire New York Democratic Party tossed out on their rumps and replaced with competent politicians. The Cuomo machine was a blight on the Democratic Party, on their reputation that we should be working, we should be eager to scrub ourselves clean up. But I don't fully grasp what's going on in Brian Tyler Cohen's new video. I'm hoping to watch it with y'all, and hopefully we can come to an understanding together of what this new tactic is. Let's check it out.
It was clear that in 2022, New York Democrats not only underperformed, but that lackluster showing in that state was largely responsible for handing the House to the Republicans as they flipped 4 seats in one of the most liberal states in the country. But now, those liberals seem to have woken up. According to the New York Times, New York Democrats have announced their support for a statewide effort to pass a women's rights amendment to the state constitution, the benefits of which would be twofold. First, the New York Equal Rights Amendment would explicitly bar New York from using its powers and resources to penalize those who have abortions. And second, it would generate turnout in 2024 by putting one of the most potent issues in the country on the ballot in a state that otherwise doesn't have the electoral pull that a battleground state has.
Okay, so here's my understanding of what happened in 2022 with the New York Democratic Party. They once again allowed Republicans to dictate what the campaign would be about, what the whole race would be about. Now, in part, they failed to stress to folks that abortion was on the ballot. So this is a good change. However, they pretended like there was some massive crime spree happening in New York when that was not the case. And they pretended like that was the case so they could say, we're going to go out there and fight crime. Different than how they were already doing. They were already making pretty decent progress, if I understand correctly. There's people that think New York is like this, like a Snake Plissken roaming the streets, a Kurt Russell hellscape. As delightful as it would be to have Kurt Russell, circa 1980, whatever, adventuring with us, it's simply not the case. So, I'm not sure I can give him the full credit thus far that this video is stating, but maybe I should let Mr. Cohen go more than 40 seconds without interruption. Let's see if he brings it to something I do agree with. Although it's, all right, for the record, though, not to say I disagree with the move they're doing so far, I would just like to get a little more confidence that they're not going to suddenly just focus entirely on the first thing that Republicans say they want to talk about when it comes to that particular state.
And in case you doubt that potency, bear in mind that since the Dobbs decision was handed down, Democrats have ushered in an electoral routing of Republicans in this country. In the immediate aftermath of Dobbs, the 5 special elections saw an average 9-point swing to the left compared to Biden's 2020 numbers. When Republicans put the issue of abortion on the ballot in ruby red Kansas, voters rejected it by a 20-point margin. And in the 2022 midterms, a year that history swore should be a red wave, Democrats had an unprecedented showing, retaining the Senate and only allowing Republicans a 5-seat margin in the House. There wasn't a single candidate in a battleground state who espoused support for abortion bans that won. And just this year, Democrats won a Supreme Court race in Wisconsin that was largely predicated on abortion by a staggering 10-point margin in that 50-50 state, and they even flipped the mayoral seat in Jacksonville, Florida, which until that point was the largest city still controlled by a Republican. All of which is to say, if you doubt this issue's potency, you probably shouldn't. And let's be clear, Republicans have done nothing to moderate their position. Donald Trump, the leader of the Republican Party, has come out and taken full credit for stacking the court with anti-choice extremists as part of his presidential campaign.
First of all, I'm the one that got rid of Roe v. Wade, and everybody said that was an impossible thing to do. I put on 3 Supreme Court justices. Very few people have had that privilege or honor, and they are terrific people, and they...
Man. It should be made clear that Donald Trump's strategy for 2024 is not only to play to the base. Oh my God, I just bit the hell out of my tongue. Is not only to play to the base, as always, but it's really to push for authoritarianism. You gotta know that this guy is not trying to win over centrists. But he lost. He lost with his base. So what is his plan? I can only assume that it's to hope that there is a... Because he tried the coup when he was in power and he couldn't pull that off, so I can't imagine he thinks he's going to pull off a coup now. What can it be? It must be that he's hoping that Democrats don't show up. Democrats, you better show up. Because that is a guy who is making it crystal clear that he is proud that a person's right to bodily autonomy, a right to what happens within their own body, he got rid of that, and he's proud of it.
He happened to believe that Roe v. Wade should not be there. It's been now brought back to the states. And what I've done is I've given the pro-life people, who are wonderful people and loving people, I've given them the power of negotiation, because now they're able to negotiate something that's going to be very important.
Here's another Republican candidate, Tim Scott, refusing to rule out signing a nationwide abortion ban into law.
Yes, sir.
Would you support a federal ban on abortions?
I would simply say that the fact of the matter is, when you look at the issue of abortion, one of the challenges that we have, we continue to go to the most restrictive conversations without broadening the scope and taking a look at the fact that I'm 100% pro-life. I never walk away from that. But the truth of the matter is that when you look at the issues on abortion, I start with the very important conversation I had.
That right there is why Tim Scott will not win. I know, there's all sorts of other reasons. I'm saying why Tim Scott specifically won't win. This is a good lesson for Democrats and Democrat voters as well. Forget the actual question. Answers like that make people not trust you. And by the way, they're right not to trust you when you give an answer like that. He cannot just give a straight answer. The whole country has that feeling that is apparently shared by the guy behind Tim Scott, staring at the back of his dome, when a politician answers a question like that. The era of that being okay is gone. Dead and gone, and may it stay that way. We don't know what they're saying, really, when they do this stuff, and they have these carefully crafted statements, which are designed to walk a narrow line. And they're also designed to be boring, so that you really are only supposed to understand that they are saying, I'm gracefully dodging this question. But we understand now what it sounds like when they're just treading water, when they're doing the gish gabble, when they're doing the dodging of a question. And the American voting populace has no patience for it. So here's what I would recommend to Democrats. If you, over the next year, see a politician that is going to run for your party and they are giving answers like that, find a better politician. Look for whoever is the more honest actor in the race and support them in the primary, because this is not acceptable. But let's get back to the matter at hand, which is supposedly New York Democrats are making strides to be more appealing in 2024. I would hope so, because they did about as bad as is possible to do in 2022.
Banking hearing, when I was sitting in my office and listening to Janet Yellen, the Secretary of the Treasury, talk about increasing the labor force participation rate for African American women who are in poverty by having abortions. I think we're just having the wrong conversation.
And in Florida, Ron DeSantis saw his state's 12-week abortion ban and decided, in the middle of his presidential campaign, to sign an even more extreme 6-week abortion ban into law, proving that this is an issue the GOP is leaning into as they head into 2024. And by the way, that's a point I made during a recent debate with Trump's former OMB director, Mick Mulvaney.
You're right. A lot of folks are realizing that, okay, Republicans are supporting a 12-week, limit on, I think Mike Pence came out and said he would support a 12-week protection, right, at the federal level. That's Mike Pence. This is the most pro-life person in the world who just took a position that abortion before 12 weeks might be okay. Okay, so it's a debate, and I think that's healthy for us.
Yeah, I mean,
in the long run.
I think that we're kind of kidding ourselves if we pretend that any Republican wouldn't try to pass a federal abortion ban if they could. I mean, the same reason that the same people who told us not to worry that it was already settled law with Roe had then come forward and applauded the Dobbs decision and then moved forward with a 12-week abortion ban, and then we moved and saw another one to a 6-week abortion ban, and then immediately we saw legislation introduced in Congress for a national abortion ban. Yeah. So we pretend that we don't see these issues at our own risk.
You know as well, you can introduce anything in Congress.
Right. I mean, Ron DeSantis, someone who is on a national stage, who's trying to make himself the next president of the United States, he had a 12-week abortion ban and opted for a 6-week abortion ban in Florida. Right. If that isn't a harbinger of things to come in the Republican Party, I don't know what is. In other words, voters should be well aware that this is a party that has broadcast its intention to enact even more extreme abortion bans, even despite the nationwide pushback. It's a party that does not care about the will of the people, clearly, and the danger in that cannot be overstated. Now, as far as the Equal Rights Amendment is concerned, organizers plan to raise at least $20 million to spend on TV ads, direct mail, and organizing to support the initiative. That would be in addition to the House Democrats' $45 million effort to win 6 New York swing districts in 2024, including the 4 that flipped red in 2022. Democrats may have slept through the midterms, but it looks like they have no intention of sleeping through the general. And so they're not only looking to erase the
New York Democrats slept through the midterms. Let me tell you, Midwestern states came out and kicked ass. It has to be noted. Hell, Southern states did exactly that. Maxwell Frost in Florida. The tremendous work being done in Georgia. Stacey Abrams, by the way, just about single-handedly rescued Joe Biden's presidency, made it productive with her work in Georgia. I mean, I think there needs to be a special focus on how weak the New York Democratic Party is, how utterly corrupt and pathetic it is. If you want to know the source of the hatred for Democrats, it is the sort of folks who run the New York Democratic Party. You want to know why sometimes it is indistinguishable to tell a Democrat from a Republican. It's the sort of folks who run the New York Democratic Party. That they work their hardest to sabotage progressive campaigns, to put up politicians who will cut gigantic checks to businesses and screw over human beings. It's a serious problem. Hopefully he goes back to that. He seems to be talking about abortion being a major strategy of the Dems in general, but that, I mean, we knew that. Come on. Of course it is. And as well it should be. For the first time ever, a right was taken away from Americans. So yes, of course it's going to be a major issue. Let's let him keep going a little bit longer.
GOP's gains from 2022, they're looking to actually add seats for themselves. New York Governor Kathy Hochul called the threat to women's reproductive rights, quote, a highly mobilizing force that has proven to win elections in New York. She invoked the New York special election victory for Democrat Pat Ryan over the favored Republican Mark Molinaro, a race that heavily featured the issue of women's reproductive rights. And New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand echoed that sentiment, saying, having a ballot initiative in our state is going to drive voter turnout overall, which will definitely help Democrats. The biggest reason we lost House seats was because of voter turnout. By the way, this isn't the only boon for Democrats in the Empire State. The highest court in New York had a conservative majority until this year, when an appointment by Governor Hochul finally moved the court to the left. That same court will now have the opportunity to hear a case on New York's congressional maps.
Wait a minute. Ha! Wait a minute. Now, Brian Tyler Cohen, you know I loves yous. You adorable, besuited otter, you. But Hochul tried her damnedest to get a right-wing extremist, anti-abortion activist put into that seat. And she was fought tooth and nail by progressives to not get that, not get her initial appointment. So let's not give her credit for pushing the court, the Supreme Court in New York left, because she did not. Any decent thing that was done there was the work of people that had to fight her to get it done. This is like when Republicans take credit for things they fought Democrats to get done in the Senate. It's ridiculous. But it sounds to me like the main thing we're hearing here is that they are putting abortion literally on the ballot, and that is finally smart politics from the New York Democratic Party. Oh, mercy me. That's all I got out of that. All I got was, of course, nationwide, of course, abortion is the major issue to discuss. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. New York is no different. What are they doing in addition to discussing that? They're putting it on the ballot. That is smart. That is a great way to get people out there, particularly if the voting populace in your state has reason to not trust you, and to not trust that if they come out and vote for the candidate that you say is going to help them, that the candidate is actually going to help them. This gives them something, a yes or no question that is answered on voting day. Good. That is a smart way to go about it. Radagast Brown. First of all, loving that handle there. Second, you should see if BTC would do a show with you. I don't understand why this channel hasn't caught on more. Yeah, it's largely because I stopped doing shorts. But I'm going to return to that to grow it more. Dawned on me, Democrats need to grow a spine and get each and every Republican out. Wholeheartedly agreed. Radagast Brown. Oh yeah, the New York Democrats cost us the House. Yes, they did. Dino, we need to reform the Supreme Court yesterday. Wholeheartedly agreed. That is going to start with a sweep in 2024. But yes, when we have step one, we eliminate all excuses for centrist Dems. We give complete power to Democrats in the House, Senate, and White House. And then progressives are going to have to push for things like this to actually help our country out. And I think that is when we are going to start seeing the Democratic Party splitting into two, with the centrist Dems becoming the new right wing, and progressives becoming the new left. Christy Zilkowski, I'm from Buffalo, New York. The politics are corrupt as any other. Don't get me started. Ooh, but I want to talk to you about that because I'm fascinated by New York politics. It is wild. The Cuomo machine is something that I am horrified to see is living on past that guy's career. Dawned on me, BTC is now correspondent for MSNBC, so I fear he will now be more favorable to corporate Democrats. I am quite sure he's going to go easier on him. Yeah. And the good news is he's maintaining his online presence. Use that. Bust his balls. It is very healthy for lefties to, we hear about leftist infighting all the time. And we also hear about Ronald Reagan's sacred 11th Amendment, which I have to admit, even I tried to follow for a while. If you're not familiar, he's famous for saying, "Thou shalt not criticize other Republicans." But that's where MAGA comes from, man. That we need to be able to criticize our own side and to think critically about what we're saying. It doesn't mean that we treat minor sins as unforgivable, but it does mean that when Brian Tyler Cohen gets his butt onto MSNBC, which first of all is going to be just incredibly good. It's very good for your community to hear. It does mean we have the opportunity to keep him progressive. So let's do that in his comments. And let's also boost his videos by leaving comments. Radagast Brown. MSNBC has plenty of quality, hardworking reporters and truth tellers. Yeah. Wholeheartedly agreed. And it's also just, the concern is really hanging out with a corporate crowd. You're going to hear very corporate, sympathetic things. That's not the end of the world. It's just something to be aware of. And Radagast Brown saying, looking for video of Trump's speech to the Nazi group Moms for Liberty. And yes, Brian Tyler Cohen does indeed have integrity. Well, folks, I got to give you a heads up. Tomorrow is a party for me beloved sister, which I will be attending. So I will not be doing a live stream. I will be uploading videos, though, of course, but no live stream tomorrow for Salty Saturday. I do apologize, but it's me baby sis. I'm quite fond of her. And she's been... I can't... I don't want to dox her, but she's had a... she has thoroughly earned, I think, a bit of a celebration. So Big Brother is going to be present for that. I do have one more thing I want to share with you, though. Because we're going back to talking to MAGA folks. This is where the rubber meets the road in terms of actual consequences for legislation passed. Talking about migrants in Florida. Oh, well, MAGA voters, I realize that a lot of times your politicians tell you that your problems can be blamed on immigrants. And the counter to that I have for you is, where's the proof? When we have less immigrants in this country, how come the crime rate doesn't plummet? And I'll give you a hint, it doesn't. When we have more, how come it doesn't go up? And I'll give you a hint, it doesn't. Just about the only thing that really changes when we have less or more migration in our country is how easily farmers can afford the frankly quite skilled labor that migrants tend to bring. Here is MSNBC talking about it. on Morning Joe.
Bill in Florida is set to go into effect tomorrow. It centers around migrant workers who make up a large portion of the workforce in the state's key industries. Morning Joe reporter Daniela Pierre Bravo traveled to Florida to investigate how the new law will affect the agriculture industry, of course, one of the state's top economic drivers. And Daniela joins us now. Good morning, Daniela. What did you learn?
Hey, Willie, good morning. Well, first, that the effects of the bill have already started. Immigrants without status are leaving the state and have left the state in fear of the new law. Second, the implications of these immigrants leaving could extend beyond just individual cases. It could bring larger economic and labor concerns.
Here we grow spinach, chili, a little bit of everything.
22-year-old Flor came to the U.S. from Guatemala 3 years ago, and on any given day, she's joined by other workers at this farm in Homestead, Florida. But today, she's doing the job all on her own.
There were 7 of us. The truth is, the other 7 already left. They already left to other states.
Flor's colleagues have abandoned their life in Florida in fear of Governor DeSantis' new Senate Bill 1718, which will bring sweeping changes to Florida's immigration law when it takes effect on July 1st.
We are acting with the strongest measures yet. We're proud of the legislature for stepping up and for getting this done.
Among other provisions, it requires public and now private employers with 25 or more employees to use the federal E-Verify system to confirm workers' immigration status.
Just want to be clear. The folks that migrate to the United States tend to be less dangerous by every metric there is. This is an unnecessary self-own, and it is entirely a self-own. Now let's see the details.
Imposing strict penalties on employers who hire workers without status, and criminalizing transporting undocumented immigrants across state lines.
In the pandemic, these workers were important. They were vital. And now they're being repaid by this slight from Governor Ron DeSantis. They're in panic. The news felt like an impact, a hurricane, like a tornado warning coming towards them.
Flor is one of the estimated 772,000.
Real quick. Didn't that sound familiar? In the pandemic, these workers were important. Oh boy. You want to know where all these protests are coming from? All these union protests are coming from? The same realization was had by the poor in the United States. We were told we were essential. Or as that guy was saying, what was it, importante? Yeah. In other words, during the pandemic, we found out who we actually needed to do their jobs. And what a shock. The rich folks could take time off. But the poor folks, the undocumented folks, the folks you could say forced to keep working, even though they were getting sick from the pandemic, dying from COVID. Those folks, yeah, we still needed them. And now, what has happened? Essential workers are told to go back to living the miserable existence that they were living. If you have tried to live off minimum wage, you know. If you haven't, let me assure you, it is a miserable existence. You just keep getting more poor, no matter what you do. And what's happened to the undocumented? They crack down on them. Now, it turns out that there are structures in the U.S. that do allow documented folks that live here to form unions, to exercise their just to have an ability to stick up for themselves. But look what happens to the undocumented. not a damn thing they can do except leave. Well, guess what, Florida? You're getting your wish. Let's see how that pans out for you. Let's see if you actually can exist without them. And if, by the way, if you're somebody who was for some reason on the fence about this sort of thing, have a look at what those two groups have in common. If you're a poor white person, understand the similarities between the undocumented workers that are being harassed now and their treatment during the pandemic and immediately following, and you and your treatment during the pandemic and immediately following. What happened to you? You were told you were important and we needed you, and you had to take the risk when we didn't know anything about COVID, but we needed you, and you went into work. And after the pandemic, they said, and now we're going back to treating you like filth. Isn't it interesting that they try to turn you, the white voter who works a low-wage job, they try to turn you against these folks? It's almost as though you have more in common with them. And if you were to look out for their interests, I bet you'd find your life gets better.
Undocumented people living in Florida, a state that's home to the third largest share of agricultural undocumented workers in the country.
Within the agriculture industry in particular, we know there's at least 130,000 seasonal and migrant farm workers who come here to work. Now, we know at least 60,000 of those workers are undocumented, but likely that is a conservative estimate.
Juan says that he's already seen empty farms and workers leave the state.
I've seen it in Homestead, I've seen it in Palm Beach, and in Tampa.
Agriculture is often thought of as almost the employment of last resort, particularly for native or documented workers. Given the situation in Florida right now, and really nationwide, with a low unemployment rate, it's going to be even harder to convince people that these are jobs worth taking.
Ermila is one of those owners having a hard time finding workers. She's had experience working with undocumented immigrants and worries of fear around the bill will drive even more workers away.
They're the ones with the experience. They're the ones who can tolerate the heat. Workers with legal documents look for work in offices, in restaurants. Many workers have already left, and many of them still have planned to leave. It's not going to be easy. If they're leaving because of fear, it's not going to be easy to find more workers. If it's harder to find workers, business will go down.
What happens, especially for those seasonal workers that aren't set to come back until September and October?
It's likely that those workers, they simply skip Florida entirely on their sort of path. And when you have parts of that supply chain missing or parts of that production process missing, it becomes that much harder for the people who are left to do their job. And so you're going to see further exits from agricultural work, regardless of whether or not someone has a documented status or not.
So what about the long-term consequences?
A lot of the crops that they produce can also be produced in other states that are not going to maybe have these same labor problems. If this sticks around and workers respond to it, which we have evidence to say that they will, it's going to likely change the geography of agricultural production, particularly for those crops that Florida is known for.
What Governor DeSantis has done is dehumanized immigration, and he's made visible a serious problem, an underground world that already exists in Florida and the rest of the United States.
I asked Flor if she has plans to stay or leave Florida.
I'm not planning on leaving.
Wait just a minute. What that last fella said, again, just nailed it. It made clear a world that exists in the United States that is not in the spotlight. Look, we have to be real about this. We rely on these people. We rely on these workers to create our food. I see so many farmers who love to tout, oh, you couldn't survive without us. You stopped doing what you do, and I don't get another, iPad. I stopped doing what I do, and you starve to death. Granted, I have always granted that point because it's a fair one. It just doesn't go far enough. She stops doing what she does, and we also starve to death. And Ron DeSantis just encouraged how many people at that farm? 9 out of 10 folks at that farm to leave, and they did. Good luck, Florida. That's going to hurt you bad.
I have my boy here. I have a son. He was born here. I have a life here. Leaving for another state is like starting from zero.
I reached out to the governor's office for a response on addressing specifically economic concerns and labor shortage worries that we've been hearing from farm owners. Their press secretary reiterated that this bill addresses only illegal immigration, as they chose to word it, and that the bill is a solution to companies hiring them instead of Floridians. But experts tell me, Willie, that workers without status make up around 40% or more of the agriculture industry in Florida.
40%.
Many of whom work at more than one farm year-round, right? So we'll have to see if migrant workforce continues to shrink and what impact that might have for prices on consumers. Willie?
All right, we'll keep a close eye.
I always wonder, like, aren't Republicans afraid that somebody will read the numbers? You know, just do a breakdown of what the consequences of their disastrous policies are. And you know what? Looking back on media coverage throughout the years, I understand why they weren't. Because it was truly insane how much they were given a pass. Let's make sure that they're not given a pass now. Florida just lost about 40% of its agricultural workers. Or at least, let's say only half of them leave because Ron DeFascist is doing his thing. Okay, 20%, 1 in 5 of its agricultural workers. You think they're going to be able to have the output that they used to? I don't. How's that going to affect the state? Isn't Disney leaving as well? How's that going to affect the state? Curious to know what you say about it, Wicked community. Let's have a look. Wireless Mike, good to see you. DeSantis won't be in the picture much longer. He has no chance in the upcoming race. Yeah, I hope so. God, I hope so. I didn't... So, who's running for governor, then, of Florida? Is he... I truly don't understand what his political plans are, really. He can't think he's going to win the presidency. Maybe he does. Wireless Mike, farmers down there are furious. Yeah. And yet, I bet farmers down there also voted for DeSantis. I'm hoping that this results in them, at the very least, just staying home in 24. The anti-corporatist, I'm half fan hour behind. But a lot of what happened there is the state Supreme Court had them redraw the maps at the last minute because they were too gerrymandered. Okay, good. Dawned on me, my sister and her husband live in Florida, and they think DeSantis is super great. No, dawned on me, no. But they'll vote for Trump because they're in a cult. Even if it's in their face, they're unwilling to wake up. Okay, dawned on me, question for you. Yeah. How do they handle... You know what? No. How about this? If they bring up the fact that they believe the criminal indictments against Trump regarding the documents are a witch hunt, please ask them for me. And let me know how it goes if you get the opportunity. Please ask them. Why did Trump not just say that the defense he's been making in public, to you, to us all. Why did he not just say that in court? I had the legal right. Here it is. Case dismissed, please. How come that wasn't his filing in court? That's the only question. If it's in the laws already, if it's written down, all he would have to do is say, hey, gang, here's the law that says I can declassify anything I want with my mind, and so all the things I had were declassified. I mean, he's since changed that argument. Now I believe what he's saying is, what was it? I was going to give them back. I was in the process of giving them back. But that's not what he said in the beginning. So let's take some people that are Trump supporters and ask them honestly and without hate in our hearts, just with genuine confusion, that thing he said in the very beginning. What happened to it? Why do you think he said it then? If that's no longer what he's going with, why did he say it? Ask him. Let's do some let's do some research into the minds of the folks that believe this. I'd be curious to see. Well, I gots to get ready, y'all. Party time. I will not be live tomorrow, but I will be putting up content throughout the weekend. Thank you for joining me tonight. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for what you can do. I'll see you next time. Oh, and my name's Jake.